Hello, welcome to Alyssa Jean's Reviews. This is my review for Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 7, A Mathematically Perfect Redemption. Spoiler warning is in effect if you have not seen up to the end of this episode. So, I just watched the best episode of the season of She-Hulk, which was very good. I was very thankful to watch a really good episode of She-Hulk because it was a good palate cleanser after watching the worst episode of the entire series of Star Trek Lower Decks. So in the 27 episodes we have seen so far, by far, easily, not even close, the worst of them all, in my opinion. And it's really disappointing coming off of one of my favorite episodes of the series when I went to visit Deep Space Nine, coming off of a season so far that had been pretty good. There had not been a clunker in the whole bunch. Some of them were more on the upper mediocre side. Like the first episode I gave a 7 to, but they were all 7.5 to 8 ratings. Last week was a 9. And then they dropped the worst episode of the series. Now, I understand not everybody's going to view it that way. Maybe I'm the only one who views it that way. I don't know. I don't typically watch a lot of other reviews before I do mine. I did watch a couple minutes of Jessie Ginger's review, and she seemed to enjoy it. So maybe other people enjoyed it. I guess if you didn't find this character of Peanut Hamper to be obnoxious and wish to never see the character ever again, and instead are subjected to watching an entire episode about this obnoxious character, and the first 15 minutes is all about this character and a bunch of bird people and silly sex scenes where they're trying to go, oh, look at this, funny, it's just a robot having sex with a bird. And it was just dumb. There's no chemistry between the two characters. It was just put in there to like, oh, look at this love scene. It's dumb. It is so dumb. And it was suffering in this first 15 minutes. I did not like this character. To begin with, I was like, oh, good, she's gone. We'll never have to see this character again, ever again. And they instead drop an entire episode about the worst character ever. We still haven't seen that Vulcan from episode 8. I'm blanking on her name because I'm so raging angry. Episode 9, I think, actually, of last year. The Wage Douche. I would much rather see that character come back. Hopefully we still will. There's 3 episodes left, so there's still a chance at the end of this I could go 4 out of the last 5 episodes of Lower Deck were amazing, but they stuck in the worst episode of the series in the middle of all that. This was just really, really hard to sit through. And you know what? I would have enjoyed it more if Peanut Hammer actually did have a real redemptive arc, and because of the title I actually believed that she would. And yes, that would have been cliche, and they would be subverting that trope, but this is the rare case where I would have preferred the cliched trope, because it would have shown character growth, it would have shown that this character has changed. But instead we just find, no, we fooled you. She's just the same one-dimensional obnoxious character she's always been. That's really annoying. Like, it actively pissed me off that they didn't have a real redemption arc and they were going, fooled you. It was annoying. Angering, actually. I hated it. So there was only one part in this whole episode that I found hilarious or found funny at all. Actually, there's 2 parts I found. There's another part that I found mildly funny that I'll get to in a second. But I only really laughed once, and this was the very, very final scene of the episode where Peanut Hamper is put in that super robot, supercomputer, insane asylum, and we get to see Aguilar, I think the name was, the Jeffrey Combs supercomputer from last season. That was great, and how they were all like, she's like, stop laughing. That was funny. That's the only time I laughed the entire episode, and it was at the very last scene. They almost seem to be setting up an escape by these 2 robots, and they're going to team up and beat evil supercomputers together, and I don't want to see it. But I did really enjoy the Jeffrey Combs supercomputer character, so maybe if they did do that, Jeffrey Combs could offset the awful Peanut Hamper character. And also, by the way, I agree with Tendi from season 1. They showed it in the previously on, where she's like, Peanut Hamper's a dumb name. Yes, it is. I mean, I think that was supposed to be the point of it, that she was supposed to have a dumb name, but I think it's dumb that they chose a dumb name intentionally. So I don't like it. Yeah, so that was the only really funny part. There was one other line that I kind of chuckled at earlier, where Peanut Hamper goes, "Oh, so I actually wasn't breaking the Prime Directive this whole time," because I was thinking about that. Like, she's just blatantly breaking the Prime Directive. That was a real missed opportunity, too. Like, I actually did like that they were exploring the Prime Directive a little bit, because I think Lower Decks should explore the Prime Directive, because the Prime Directive deserves to be mocked. I think the Prime Directive is, as we've seen in many Star Trek episodes, is full of shades of gray. It really isn't a black and white thing. And many captains, or all of our captains actually, have broken it several times and gotten away with it. So it's really not the Prime Directive. It's not that important, because you can break it and have nothing happen to you. So it's silly that it's called the Prime Directive. So I think that exploring it in Lower Decks would be fun, because it deserves to be mocked. And I thought they were going there. They did touch on that a little bit, but didn't go far enough to offset the awful, 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 awful character episode of the most obnoxious character in all of Lower Decks that I never wanted to see again. So I gotta get out of here. I gotta go to work. So I'm gonna wrap this up quickly. This will be a short review. I'm going to go ahead and give my rating out of 10. 1's the lowest possible score. 10's the highest possible score. So my rating for the worst episode of the series is a 3. It avoids a 1 or a 2 because of that hilarious scene at the end, and because they did touch on the Prime Directive a little bit, so I won't go so far as to give it a 1 or a 2. But suffice to say, this is, for me personally, the worst episode of the series, and I hope to never see anything like this again. I hated it, hated it, hated it. I don't ever want to see this character again. Unless maybe she's offset by Jeffrey Combs, I guess it would be okay. But please don't do this to me again, Lower Decks. Please get back to the quality stuff like you did last week, that amazing Deep Space Nine episode. Let's get back to that next week, shall we? Thank you very much. Speaking of next week, please join me next week as I review an hopefully much better episode. And I will be here every week to do that until the season ends in about 3 weeks. So please subscribe, 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 and I will see you really soon. Goodbye.